Conversations from the Cave is a raw self-help podcast dedicated to discussing men's issues. From pornography to parenting, from religion to real life, from learning to loving. We discuss the real issues that affect real men every day. Join us each week for powerful, revealing Conversations from the Cave. Now your host, Kurt Kennedy.
This is Conversations from the Cave. I'm your host, Kurt Kennedy. It's a pleasure having you back here again on another Sunday. We're excited to have our group together once again. The wonderful guys who help to make this show possible each week are in studio with us this evening. To my right, Mustang, can you chime in for us and let us know you're here?
Hey guys, it's Mustang back to you. Don't have any meat this time. Don't have the Arby's gigantic burger that we had last time, but still very excited. I'm still full from that thing, but very excited to be here again with you guys.
Also, to my left, we have B.A. Armstrong. Can you chime in for us?
Hey guys, this is B.A. from Huntsville, and it was an enjoyment last Sunday to do live, and I hope y'all enjoyed it, and let's change these lives one word at a time.
So it's great, guys, that we get a chance to get together every week and talk about some just day-to-day stuff. Some shows are pretty controversial, and some shows are more down to earth, and this one I think is one that is kind of right on the cusp, because whenever we start talking about leadership in a feminist society, a lot of that comes into question on what exactly is leadership, how much of a strong role do you take, and what aspects of leadership are within the purview of men, especially when it comes to the family. So, gentlemen, we're going to take this evening to talk about leadership in the family. What does it mean in modern times to be a leader in a family, particularly with feminism as a big influence on the way family structure is nowadays? So I'm going to toss that out to my right, as I normally do. Mustang, do you have some thoughts on leadership?
I feel like leadership. Here's the thing, and for me, I feel like leadership is leadership. End of story. I feel like the man was designed to fulfill that role. However, it does not mean that the man does fill that role. I feel much like the president, not necessarily this president, but, the president's chair was designed to be a leadership position where those could look up to him, those who are hurting, those who are in need, those who are strong and they want to figure out how to be stronger. That's the position, that's the chair that you would look up to and say, how do I be more like that gentleman? How do I, reach that kind of, cloud or that kind of strength or, whatever the case is that you're, that whatever aspirations you have, you're looking up to this guy for. But it doesn't mean that person that's there is actually fulfilling all of those things. So the exact same thing as a leader. I do believe typically a man should be the leader of the house, and I believe the man should step up and do that, especially in a society now where women are like, where there are some women that are like, hey, listen, we can do everything on our own. That's fine, that's okay, you can. But guess what? We're here because we want to take care of you. We have something innately in us. I mean, you got a guy out there that falls down, he starts crying. That's one thing. If you have a woman start crying, man, you're going to have 10 guys around you, trying to help you out. So we want to help you, and we want to help our families move forward and grow. That's a great sense of pride for us. But if your house is devoid of a man, you're a single mom, and you are the leader at the moment, then, be the strongest leader that you can be.
Excellent thoughts. B.A., do you have similar thoughts, differing thoughts? What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree with Mustang. Leadership is a big key in just living lives and living as families. And for those of us that, have kids, now I'm not talking about my kids because they're real young, but when kids get older, you got to think about what God is going to do in them, because they have their own abilities and their own strengths and weaknesses that are going to come out in them, and they'll have leadership role in the family. So I can't just rule out that because, I know the husband and wife are key in leadership, but sometimes that kid, when they reach that age, which I don't know what that age is, but when their strengths start to blossom and start happening, they're going to level out the playing field in the whole family, because their strengths are going to be shown before the mom and dad, or before the mom, or before just the dad by themselves, because that's one of their part of the family. They're here to bring out the strengths and have a leadership role in that. Like, I have a lot of people, well, let me say not a lot, but a few people where you know, they were the son of a single mother. Well, they grew up too quick because they couldn't have a childhood, but they were put in that role of leadership because, you know, whatever happened to their dad, whether he died, whether, you know, whatever, they became the man of the house, which is the key leadership role in the family. But as I say that, it's just in the whole unit, which, you know, families can be as big as 12 kids, can be as big as one. But leadership is key within the whole family unit.
So let's specifically talk about the father's role, a man's role in the dynamic of being a leader in a household. What does that look like for the modern day man? What does the modern day man bring to the table as a leader?
I feel like the modern man nowadays, to be a leader in the home, I believe the first thing you have to do is you've got to learn to follow. Typically, for most young men, that's probably going to be their dad. But for some young men, that's not going to be the case. For some young men, that might be their grandfather, that might be somebody they've seen. And for people like us, people like me, you know, it may have transcended over time. You know, first it was my dad, and then it became God, you know, or Jesus. You know, as I began reading the Bible and I began learning that there are certain there's certain ways that I'm supposed to act that not necessarily my dad didn't act like that, but I mean, you know, Jesus is the example to go by. But all that to say, more specifically, on a specific level, I feel like, you know, making sure that you take care of basic responsibilities. You know, you're going to bed more than likely, maybe a few minutes later than everybody because you're locking all the doors. You're checking all the, you know, making sure everything's locked and your family's safe. Also, you know, you're the first one to get up. You're the one making sure that maybe there's nutrition there for them. You may be cooking. You may be the designated chef. You may not. You know, your wife may prefer to do that, or you may, you and your wife may agree that she's going to do that. But, you know, you make sure that everybody has everything that they need. That's something that's important to me. You know, me and my wife first got married. I felt like she was going to give them a lot of junk food all the time, a lot of cereals and stuff. And I'm like, they need eggs and bacon and some sort of green. You know, I prefer like spinach or something like that, but some sort of green or something like that in the morning. They don't just need cereal every single morning, you know, but that was my role. So again, things like that, like I said, making sure your family's secure, making sure your family's healthy, making sure they're getting their education. It's not just up to mom to do all the homework. You know, not to say that you guys don't come together and delegate that task to mom, but it's still ultimately, honey, let's check out this progress report. Why do we have a C here? You know, what's going on? Okay, mom, are you getting too stressed? Are you doing too much of homework? Well, let me take some of that responsibility off you. Or maybe you have an extra task over here that I can do while you're gone during the day. I work from home. But, you know, while you're gone during the day, maybe I can do that task so you don't have to do that. So like I said, just basic things, safety, security, you know, nutrition, you know, belief in God, you know, assuming that is what you do believe in God. And I mean, just some kind of the basic elements, in my opinion.
Well, you've basically outlined three roles that are mentioned in the role of fatherhood, leadership roles: priest, which is to relate to your spiritual life for your family and for your children; provider, which is dealing with the nutrition, the finances, et cetera, and then protector. You talked about lighting, locking the doors and making sure that your family's safe. So priest, provider, and protector are the component elements of your description of manhood and leadership. So that's a fairly clear descriptor. BA, do you share similar thoughts? Or Nola, do you have similar thoughts? Or Mustang, did you have something additional you wanted to add to that?
Oh no, that's awesome. I didn't know that was so that's like a thing. Those are just things I'm thinking of.
Right. That's yeah. Most guys, when you whittle it down to one word, it's priest, provider, and protector. And those are key components in the life of a male leader of a home. Being a priest is a person who is someone you can confide in, someone who is wise, someone who is spiritually minded, someone who elevates the thinking, someone who provides the emotional support and nurturance of a spiritual life and a belief in God, and someone who is exemplifies the behavior of a godly man. So that's the role of priest. When you talk about provider, of course, there's probably going to be some chiming in from our female listeners, but you know, the role of provider is primarily one where guys make a living and look out for the needs of their offspring, and if they're in a position to do that, and from that make sure that their offspring are able to grow and flourish with the necessities of life, whether that be nourishment, food, clothing, shelter, those basic things, or whether it's gifts or emotional support. So that's providing those things to them. And then protector is someone who looks out for their physical well-being, whether that be emotional well-being, daughter's chastity, sons, making it through without having to deal with bullies, or teaching them to effectively deal with bullies. Those are roles that fathers typically stand in. And if they're effective in those roles, they raise children who are effectively able to take on those roles once they step into their own families. So that's a brilliant point of that started this whole thing off. Gentlemen, Nola and B.A., do you have additional thoughts that are related to leadership and fatherhood? We haven't heard from you tonight, Nola.
Nola 73, meet you where you at. One of the things that I would go on the record to say is that as a leader in the home, I know we talked about this, I think, briefly in the past, is the responsibility is, what women don't understand is it's mind blowing. They don't know the role that we really hold and the standard that we are kept and placed at. One of the examples that I like to use is, as a young man, if they don't teach you, if your father or another man is around teaches you how to become a man, and you have that wife, and something happens to where, and I ain't talking about something physical, I'm just something manually around the house, they look at you as if, this is what you was designed for, so the expectation that's placed on a man is just impeccable. And I see that a lot of us who doesn't have the manly daddy in the picture, we struggle with society, we struggle in marriages, and this is why a lot of our marriages are falling to the wayside, is because we have a value that is placed on us, but they don't understand that just because you're placing that value on us, I don't know why you're placing it on it, why your demand is so high. And it's funny because a lot of us don't really know how to articulate the value that is placed on us. And women don't understand why we are so upset. Like, why are you mad? Why are you this? Why are you that? Well, it's because you're placing a value on me that I had nothing to do with, and I don't understand why I'm upset, because I really don't understand why I can't do what you're asking me to do. It's just something that I know that I can't do. And we go through this throughout life, throughout history.